Hey everybody, welcome. So what does this Smart Suite actually look like in action? This video is going to show you and will demonstrate both the teacher side and the student side so you know what it looks like on their end. Right now, as the teacher, I'm on my Smart Learning Suite dashboard. And you can see as I scroll through, there's a bunch of activities. But what we want to point out before we actually demonstrate the teacher-student lesson is that everything you'll see today was added using this large green button. And what's really awesome is that these have all pre-made activities and graphic organizers. If you already have a notebook file, a lesson that you've done, you just kind of want to ramp it up, you can add that here as well. A PowerPoint, PDF, you can drop in videos. All of this is right here in the small window, so it's real convenient and easy to drop in. So we're going to show you what that looks like now with a demonstration with a teacher and student. I'm going to open up this lesson here. When you hover over any of these activities, you do get two options. You can start the activity, or you can continue to edit the lesson. The first page that comes up will typically be a content slide. Before we get started, along the left-hand side, so you're aware, there is a toolbar for the teacher. This little house will take you back to the dashboard. And this people icon, you can see there's a number 2. That tells me I have 2 students in this class. And these 2 students are listed here. And one of the beauties of Smart Suite online is the ability to convert your activity pacing from teacher to student, just like you would in the classroom. If you're pacing it yourself, at some point you're going to hand it over to the students and you want them to work at their own pace. You can do this at any time in the lesson. To navigate, you're going to move down here to the lower left, and we're going to go through these slides here just using these arrows. The students have logged in to hellosmart.com and they've entered the code found up here, class ID, and that's what they're going to use. With this particular lesson, you can see it says a handout, and it says a 1-minute paper, but you don't really see what the student sees. So what I'm going to do is let you see the student view, and then we'll return to this slide.
So now I'm in as a student, and you'll see, I see the slide here that my teacher is presenting to me, 1-minute paper. I have a start button here in the middle, so it makes it really easy to know where I need to go. And you'll notice I don't really have anything here on the left side other than this button that lets me leave the class. I can't control anything else because, again, right now the teacher has this set to teacher-paced lesson. So I'm going to hit the start button. Let's take a look and see what we are able to do with this 1-minute paper. Now you remember that Scott mentioned that this is a handout. So that means I have my own copy of this, almost like walking around the room handing a copy to each student. And here is the paper that is set up for me. And here are my directions on the left side. And again, all of this are things that you could customize as the teacher in advance. You'll also notice here in the bottom left, I do have a zoom tool. So if anything appears small to me as a student, I can zoom in and out as well. On the left side, here are my icons for what I can do with this particular handout. So you'll see I have a pen tool, an eraser tool, I can add images, and I can add text. So this says I should add text and images. So I'm going to click the text, and I'm going to put in what I want to know about today's topic. And that's it.
So now we can see what that looks like from the teacher side. If I click student progress, this will actually show me the students in the class. Now obviously this would be filled up with a bunch of names. Right now we have the one student who did the handout, and if I click his name, it would actually show me the work, and this is in real time, just like a Google Doc. Let's move to the next page. You may want to share with your students before they tackle it themselves. We've opened up one of the activities that I've copied, and I wanted to copy it because I wanted to read only first. I wanted to show them how to do this activity. And you can see here it is interactive. I can drag and drop. And let's just take a quick second to see if the student can see my work.
And you can see that as Scott was adding those, the cubes from the bottom, you'll see that they showed up right here in my paper, and I'm able to just watch. You'll notice I can't do anything with this. I still have the ability, of course, to zoom in and out, but I can't do anything else with this.
So returning to the screen now, we know that the student can see what I'm doing in live time. Now, once we're ready, I probably want to hand this over to the students and say, take a crack at it. So let's go to the next page. And I'm going to present this same activity now, but I clicked one button earlier in the lesson and I just converted this to a student handout. So if I click student progress, I'm able to see what Todd is going to be doing.
So I've gone in and I've started the activity. And as soon as it loads here, I'll start working with it. And then Scott will be able to see that progress. So here my handout is loaded. And of course, this time I have full control. So I have my tools on the left side again in case I need to add any notes. But really for this one, I need to work with these icons at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and drag in my cubes and my operations. And I'm going to put in my answer. And again, for this one, I could use a pen or text. And I'll just quickly write that in. And I think I've got it.
Let's look at a different activity. You may want to have an activity that they can work together in groups. Well, SmartSuite lets you do that. And it's called a collaborative workspace. And here on my screen as the teacher, I have a setup button. And what this is going to do is let me, once I've already added the slide, when I built the lesson, which you guys will do later on your own, but when we click setup, this lets me create the teams or groups that I want. In this case, I'm going to click 2 so you can see what it looks like when you have multiple groups. The awesome thing here is that the names drop in. As you can see, it does all the work for you. But I'm not sure if I want this one student and this team. I can very easily move the student from one team to the other. But we're going to keep them separated, and I'm going to click Start Workspace.
All right, so you'll see here, I've been assigned to Team 2. I can see that here in the upper left-hand side of the screen. So anybody else that would be on that team with me, I would be seeing what they're doing right now. But maybe the teacher has told me that I should be working on just a certain part. So maybe I've been assigned the title and author section, and somebody else on my team maybe is working on the green main characters and problem setting sections. So all I need to do, again, just like any of these other activities, is I have my toolbar on the left. I'm going to grab my text, and I can start typing in here. I did want to show you, and I'm going to jump over to the other student's screen, because if you'll remember, Scott set up 2 teams. So here's my other student, all right, and this student is also working on that title and author section, but maybe this student decided he wants to go ahead and drop in an image instead. So let's show you how easy that is. It's just a search, a drag and drop, and then they can resize and drop right there. All right, so it looks like I'm done with that student, and I'm also done with what this student has been working on.
You can see that I'm looking at the one student group here, and I can easily navigate from group to group. So there's a picture of Poe there, and then here's the one student who added the text. Again, real time. And if you want to go back to that dashboard, you can click up here, come back here, and then manually select a group, or just rotate through the groups and watch the students work. Another type of activity that SmartSuite lets you do is sort of that formative assessment. It could even be one question, but the real nice thing about this assessment piece is that it gives the teacher a little graph that shows you where the students may be in terms of understanding the topic. But I've got to click this button that says Start for Class, and then the students will be able to answer this question.
So now you'll see over on my screen, it says that the teacher has started a response activity. That will just go away by itself. And then here is my question. Now, as Scott mentioned, this is just a real quick formative assessment. So it's just a one question, and I'll just answer it quickly. What's nice about this, and you're probably noticing this as we go through the demonstration, is that the student is always in just the same window. I'm not having to bounce back and forth to different tools and worried about a whole bunch of different tabs on my Chromebook. I can just stick with this one tab. I do want to point out that with the question activities, the students will have a tool here on the top to go to the next question. They'll also have a tool over here, the hamburger, where they can jump from question to question. Again, for this one, we only have the one question, but they do need to hit the Submit All Answers button to make sure that those get sent over to the teacher side. All right, so I'll submit, and we're good to go.
We're going to make the shift here back over to the teacher page, and you'll notice this graph has changed now to 50% of the students have answered. If I want to show live results, but if they're still kind of confused and you have a video set up, remember I showed you at the beginning, SmartSuite lets you embed YouTube videos. SmartSuite actually will embed the videos ad-free. And the other thing I mentioned at the very beginning is how you can shift the pacing of the lesson. right? So you may want to do it as a teacher pacing, and at some point you shift over to the students. Well, maybe that's where you want this video. You kick that over to students, because in this case, in Smart Suite, when you insert a video, the students need to click play. In fact, I'm going to go over to Todd's screen for just a second to show you. You'll notice the play button down here in the lower left. So maybe you want this for student pacing at that point. The next activity here is an actual game. Smart Suite has a whole bunch of real colorful, engaging games with music. Let's see what this particular match 'em up looks like.
So on my side, I've clicked the start button, and I'm hearing some, as Scott mentioned, some really nice soft music here to just accompany the lesson. So this is a quick Spanish lesson where I'm supposed to combine the terms that go together. And you'll see as I combine those, they match them up. If I miss one here, they'll just bounce back out for me to do. So let's go ahead and finish this so you can see what it looks like when I get them all correct. Slide these in real quick. And then at the end, you'll see they'll kind of just bounce around, and then I'll get a screen here that says that I can review what I've done, or I can reset the lesson. So resetting, you'll also notice that's on the left side during the activity. If the student gets started and they get frustrated and they want to reset, they can reset that activity whenever they want. And if I click review, it just takes me back to my finished screen so I can see my answers.
This particular activity in Smart Suite does not give you any kind of feedback, but the next slide here is something a little bit different. A shout it out in Smart Suite lets all of the students shout out their answers, but here virtually it's going to be collecting all of the responses on one screen. So it's almost like being at the front of the room on a smartboard, chalkboard, whiteboard, and you're just writing everything down up there, but they're doing it, and you can even move the responses around and even categorize them if you want. So I'm going to start this activity and see what it looks like as a shout it out.
So on my screen, you'll see it loads quickly here, and it says my teacher has started the activity. So Scott probably would have prompted me with whatever I'm supposed to be, brainstorming about here. So maybe it's just something about, give me a bunch of titles of stories by an author. So I'll say, there we go, it's Telltale Heart, and we'll send that response. And now you'll also notice here that there are a number of responses that I have. That's something that the teacher can set on their side. So for this activity, Scott set it for 2 responses. So I would have put in 2 of those here. And I'll send those in, and I'm done.
Now on the teacher side, let's see what that looks like when Todd responded. They're little boxes, and I can move these around. And again, a shouted out activity does have a category option you could include there. And so you would have to choose maybe categories and drop them in. If it's a little small, you just click it one time, and it's a collection of all of your students' responses in one area. This is an interactive activity that you can drop in through Smart Suite. So this one is a Venn diagram. And if I click student progress, I'm going to be able to see what Todd is doing. Let's go over to Todd's screen actually and see what it looks like.
So on my screen, I hit the start button, the activity loads, and you'll see again, Scott has the Venn diagram already filled in with the categories for me. And again, same tools as always. My zoom is in the bottom, which might be useful for this kind of activity. I have my other tools here on the left, so I can just drop in my text and complete my Venn diagram, and then just click done when I'm finished.
One of the last activities we want to show you in this demonstration is the game feature. Smart Suite has a lot of, again, real colorful, bright games, and from racetrack to this monster quiz that we'll demo right now. This is going to ask you as the teacher to divide everybody into teams, because there's a little competition with this one. So how many teams will play? 2 students are participating. Let's go with 2 teams. And again, they're all dropped into them. They're given a creative name. And if I hit start quiz, this will be timed, and the students can go through the questions and try to correctly and quickly answer those questions. There's your timer. I'm going to go over to Todd's screen.
All right, and you see it says get ready and go. Here on the top, it says I have 2 questions left. Here's the timer that Scott mentioned. So that's timing down already. So I just need to go ahead and make sure I answer this question. It says correct. You'll see something happens here to the crate on the right because we are the crate crushers here using that creative name. And then let's show you if I get something wrong here, what happens. So I'm going to hit false. You'll see it says sorry, keep trying, and then it will come back up with the question again. All right? So it does give students a chance to kind of remediate themselves on the go. Okay, looks like the game's done.
All right, moving to my side, the teacher side, you'll notice the crate crushers and boxes are here. I can end quiz. Now we can review this at any time. This is really nice. If you're, of course, doing this virtually, you can share your screen through Google Meet, or if you're in the classroom, you can go through these responses and actually hit class review and go through each question as a follow-up just to reinforce that content. The last slide would, of course, make sense as an exit ticket. You can see here, again, by the logo, this is a handout, so it's an individual response. Again, I click Student Progress to see how my students are doing.
Yep, and just like any of the other activities, you'll see here, this is a handout, which means I'm working on it on my own. So I've got the same toolbar, the same Zoom. Here's my question here. So I'm supposed to pretend that a friend was absent today, and I'll explain what they missed just through text. You get the idea of how that works.
Now it's your turn to check out Smart Suite. Just continue to the next slide in the Google Slide lesson, showing you how to log in, add content, and create your first lesson.